I'll do the intro. Hi, I'm Jake Ray, and today on the Student Slant, Zach and I are going to go sans guest and just talk about the year in review and our plans for the future.
I can remember when Nicole came to us with the idea of starting a podcast. Well, it was over Slack, really, which I feel like anybody listening to this, you're in the journalism world, you know what Slack is. And the idea came, and originally the podcast was supposed to be like rotating between classes, so you might have heard two different hosts on here every week, one from, this class, that class, sports media, intro to writing, law, and it would have kind of rotated. Did not turn out that way. Turned out with Jake and I hosting it, as anybody who's been following along knows, we're the two hosts week in and week out. Didn't know Jake basically at all. We had a class together. Like, I knew of him. I knew what he looked like. And didn't know him personally, though. And, just from working in the Lantern, working on this together, we've, grown to know each other, a lot. Yada, yada. So now we're here, and I think it's pretty amazing we did not miss a week. Is pretty impressive accomplishment. So it's going to be fun to kind of look back at this last year as we, wrap up. I'm Zach Varda.
I'm Jake Ray, and this is the Student Slant. So, 28 episodes now? 28 straight weeks. That's crazy to think about. I mean, we even somehow got our episodes in order to keep it going over winter break too, where we had a whole month off.
Yeah, we kept it going over winter break, which I did not see coming. We had them all. We didn't even have to record over winter break.
Yeah,
we had them all ready for winter break. That's a good job on us. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, sorry to stroke our egos.
Yeah, I'm gonna stroke my own ego here. I'm very shocked that looking back that happened. I think it's pretty demonstrable how the podcast grew too. From I think our first 5 to 6 episodes were all people in the Lantern, which nothing wrong with that. We love having people from the Lantern on, but I think we got to spread our wings. I think the first one where we really kind of got to spread our wings was with Matt Brown. Yeah. He was the first, marquee name we brought on. He actually came into my class before that for sports media. I was a student in that class, Nicole's class. And, gave an enlightening talk there, came into us, what an interesting guy. Talked about how he's poli-sci major, ends up, being the big shot over at SB that he is now. He came in on a day where they would go unionize. We talked about unionization and journalism, so that was pretty awesome. And I felt like it kind of we hit another gear after that. Not to trash on I don't want to trash on our guests from the episodes before that, but I want to trash on us. We were definitely our first 6 episodes were just us learning what we were doing and where we wanted to go.
And getting comfortable, really.
And then getting Matt Brown on there to kind of spread your wings out and kick it off into another gear was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then followed up by just several big names Phil Mattingly, more recently Garrett Kennedy, Philip Bump.
Philip Bump was great.
Yeah, those...
I mean,
that was crazy,
you
too.
You could hear him shuffling cards, so that was on us.
Yeah.
Early podcast host mistakes. Don't be scared to tell your guests to not shuffle cards during the episode. That's on us for not having the cojones.
Yeah.
But that was still a great episode.
Yeah, I just feel like seeing the growth, too, just even just personally knowing that how just nervous I was the first time we had Matt Brown on. I was wow, Matt Brown's actually a pretty big name. And then Philip Bump coming on, it was very scary. We had to figure out technical stuff too, coming through Zoom and all these different apps and trying to figure out recording stuff. And it's awesome, just being able now that just kind of seems like second nature. We can pull from anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, and now looking back on a cliche as this is going to be, if you want to start a podcast, just do it.
Yo, yeah.
I mean, you have to be prepared to put something on every week because, I feel like if we missed weeks or stuff, we wouldn't have been able to get we don't have a ton of followers, but, we have more than I would have predicted.
Oh, yeah.
And we have more downloads on our Podbean and stuff than I would have predicted. We're on iTunes, Stitcher. That's cool. Yeah, I think you just kind of have to jump in, but you have to be ready to do the work. We've started, 3 podcasts since then.
Yeah.
And 4 might be too much.
Yeah, it's also up to you definitely have to give some recognition to Nicole, keeping us going and making sure
and the connections.
Yeah,
we don't have the connections. Nicole Craft
Nicole Craft is the greatest.
If you are at Ohio State in journalism listening to this and you haven't hit up Nicole Kraft for connections yet,
Yeah.
you're doing life wrong.
I mean, if you're doing a podcast or just even writing an article, and you need a source.
You haven't asked her.
Yeah.
Like, reevaluate your life. Okay, so we've had these awesome guests on. I think it's worth talking about that we will probably have, we're not sure yet, but a little bit of a different tone next year.
Yeah.
You'll be the managing multimedia editor, so you're like the head honcho of anything multimedia TV that goes out from Lantern. I'm going to be the campus editor, so it's a pretty hectic section. You know, any breaking news pretty much is on that desk. So we will still be the hosts, but we will probably not have this interviewing a guest every week format.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely try to like incorporate more people in the newsroom. I know, Nicole, who oversees this whole thing, the engine wants to have more narrative, which is for me a well taken point and something I'd like to incorporate. So for anybody listening, expect when we come back in late August, probably a little bit of a different tone.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully the same great content.
Yeah, I mean, and possibly even different voices. And with the Lantern, especially with my vision of what I want multimedia to be, I think there'll be a lot more podcasts to listen to from the Lantern, coming from different desks, from Zach's desk and campus and arts and life and all those different types of content we could put out from different angles. I just feel like with what we have, podcasts could definitely be something that hopefully the Lantern can keep pushing. And
I mean, we have this amazing studio.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
I'm going to take advantage of this every single day until I have to graduate and leave.
Yeah.
They're going to have to, remove me from this podcast room at the end of my tenure here. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun to look forward to. That being said, this is the penultimate episode. We are hoping to put one out next week. I guess a little preview to that. We're hoping to get all the outgoing editors of the Lantern on here to talk about their overall experience as college journalists, college editors, before they, hit that road into their professional careers. We just have such an amazing staff this year. Colin Haas-Hill, Summer Cartwright, Gazelle, Kevin, at the top, editor-in-chief, Ed Sutland, who will probably be on, assistant.
Jacob Myers.
Yeah. Well, Ed Sutland, I was going to say, assistant sports editor, next year's editor-in-chief. Hopefully we can get his voice on the podcast next year when he has the time. Jacob Myers will be on here. Rachel Buells, who's going to be back next year as managing editor. Ashley Nelson, who's been on here as, station manager for Lantern TV. So we're hoping to bring you all those voices to really give you that, that student perspective. It is the student slant after all. So we're hoping to give you that student perspective that's even beyond what Jake and I can speak to, as having never been editors. I'm really pumped for the episode. We're still working out a time and everything, so no promises on what day it'll come out, but look for it. It's going to come out. It's going to have a lot of great insight. Legitimately just some of my favorite people to be around. They're a lot of fun to listen to. Special shout out Summer Cartwright, getting me where I am today, working on the campus desk.
Yeah,
I'm be the campus editor.
Obviously, same.
Yeah, we worked on her desk, so she molded us a lot into what we are now. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I speaking on the roundtable discussion, I just think, if you're a student listening to this podcast, that will be so beneficial to you in the future. It's you're hearing from people that have basically done the exact same thing that you've gone through and excelled entirely at it. So
yeah, excelled is maybe an understatement.
Yeah,
this staff is going to be hard to live up to next year.
For sure.
All stars throughout, but Ed will be he'll be taking the helm, and he's a great guy, so it's going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be short, but really anything else we want to touch on?
No, just wanted to give a quick update and say thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks to everybody that came on as a guest.
Yeah.
From Garrett Kennedy, Phil Mattingly. I'm not going to try to name everybody. I'm going to forget them out. But Nerissa Young, people that have extremely busy professional lives that took their time to come on and help get a student podcast off the ground is greatly appreciated.
Yeah. Thank you very much again.
All right. Well, you'll hear from us next week, and then we'll catch you next August. That was a great discussion. Be sure to check in next week for the last episode of the year on the Student Slant.